Science. Paranormal. Drinks. Three tortured souls. Entertain, educate, recreate, and intoxicate.
I love our theme song. That's so great.
good shit.
I'm following along, kind of like half paying attention, and I hear "and intoxicate." I'm like, "Fuck yeah!"
One of our goals.
Ooh. All right,
Revisit our
everyone.
goals.
So we got a few people in the chat room. This is good. Chat's going already. We got Julie R, Cree, Miss Spooky, Power Enthusiast, Chris Slike, Cat Mac, Dragon Ranger, Silent Cow. We got Oliver. We got a couple people in there. That's good. New people. Awesome. So tonight we're doing an open mic night because we were scheduled to talk to somebody. We were going to have a guest on. Nick, who wrote this workbook. I've been pimping it out for a month now, and then we had to delay a week. Unfortunately, we had to delay, and then
Right.
everything was still set until like 2 days ago, I think. And we got an email from him saying that he does a ghost tour. So he said he had to open up Wednesdays in order to because people were calling and he wanted to make some money. So, and I get that part. So
Fair enough.
I'm not going to fault him on that.
Mm-hmm.
But he had to cancel with us and postponed it for a future date. He didn't say when, but maybe we'll get him on. Hopefully, maybe next month. I didn't respond to him yet, so we'll see. But in the meantime, we're gonna do an open mic night, which means that you guys that are watching this, you guys ask the questions, put questions out there, put topics out there, and we will discuss it. You got three perspectives, three opinions here from three people that, we're just people. We got an interest in this, but how you guys doing? Let's start off like Tim. What's been up?
Good. For a second there, I thought you were going to say you got three brilliant minds, and I was going to say
Wrong show.
one would probably pass, but
we've been doing this long enough.
Yeah.
I know. Rule. There are no rules in this one. This is a different show, Cree. We don't. The skeptical help our rules are not applied here, so it's kind of more loose. I guess
bare knuckle.
Yeah, it depends on how it goes. We'll see how much coffee.
Too bad. You can still get booted.
Yeah, because Vicar is here. Dave, how you done? How you been? Yeah,
Good. Doing good. Looking forward to the show tonight.
All right.
Looking forward to the next show. With our guest.
Whenever
We
that
almost
may be.
did that show
Whenever may be.
without the guest. Yeah, it came close. Like I think up until like 30 seconds before the show, we were still like, should we do it? Should we do it anyway? But we're gonna wait.
We'll wait.
We're gonna
We'll
wait.
wait.
All right. Let's see. I see we do have at least one question up, so let's get it started. Cree Storm, how do you think people came up with the cryptids in the first place? Bigfoot, Mothman, Chupacabra, Jersey Devil, etc. They say myths come from at least some truth. What do you think? So, I'll jump in. I think some of this is. I think some come from mankind's ability to have an imagination, and they are just born from stories. Some of these are born from stories, like pure fabricated whole cloth stories that come up to help explain things. Like we can go back to ancient religions and when the god of thunder. They had to blame thunder on something because they had no idea what it was, and lightning. So it became a god, and that's their power, and that's how they express their power. So with things like this, it could be stories. The kernel of truth might be that somebody had a sighting. Like Mothman is a good example of this, because I had the opportunity to, well, we were all at the Mothman Festival.
Yep.
Was it last year? Yeah, I think, or this
Yep.
year. Was it this year or last year?
Last year.
Last year. And during that, we visited the TNT area, and I got to drive the path. So I did the research, I tracked everything, got where the path was that the original two couples, the four people, drove and originally saw this thing. And absolutely, you can mistake a smaller animal, because I think Daniel Reed's kind of speculation is the best. The blue herring, I think it is, which are in the area, and coming up over that hill in the dark, yeah, it would look much bigger than normal. And also the story's changed. So I think somebody saw something, they freaked out, and when you get scared and panic like that, it's only a few seconds that this sighting actually took place. So based on the fear, based on trying to figure out what's going on and different perspectives, people in the backseat giving eyewitness testimony to something they probably didn't see. The stories get meshed together, and then over time they evolve. More people add. I mean, we can actually look at with the Mothman. I'm going to totally pick on Mothman. The main witness, and I forget her name. She was one of the ladies in the car. Her story changed over time, and you can track that through her interviews. You can see how it changed, what the creature did, what its appearance was. You can track that, and it's just amazing when you see it all in print. But I think there's some truth, but the truth maybe not actually truth, maybe a misperception, or other animals. You know, they actually saw an animal like black bears and Bigfoot. You know, like there is a possibility that someone saw a bear, didn't realize what it was because of being in the woods and dark and the conditions, lighting conditions and stuff like that. So that's my best guess. It's not factual. It's just speculation. So I'll pass it on to anyone else.
I like, before it scrolls too far by, I like Miss Spooky. I think she has a good idea too, as well. It's just like stuff to keep probably kids safe. You know, don't go down, don't get around the well. You know, you can imagine early 19 in West Virginia, still yet today, but you know, don't go to the well, don't go down to the river by yourself. Don't go too far in the woods. Don't be home before dark, especially to your kids, you know?
Right.
At some point they get used to bear and snake and you know, all the other things around here, but you make up something pretty bad and might keep them away. And I got to tell you as well, it's, you know, I'm in West Virginia, and I certainly have been out in the woods a lot in the middle of the night, and things change, man. The woods look different at night. It gets creepy. Yeah. And I'm going to imagine your brain starts firing away the sound that you usually hear. A chipmunk sounds like a herd of deer running at you in dry leaves. It'll scare the shit out of you. Yeah. In my own yard, I've had a deer in the middle of the night snort at me and stomp, and I about emptied my bowels. So, you know, anything can happen. And probably if you're in the woods and you come back to the hunting camp and you've urinated on yourself and they're like, what the hell? And you're like, there's a Bigfoot. It definitely was not a chipmunk or a squirrel that scared me. It was a Bigfoot.
On that note, like my office here is a corner office. So I have windows here and I have windows in front of me, but every day there is a squirrel that runs along the roof and jumps off the corner onto the fence and then jumps back and runs back. That thing, like I've picked up squirrels. That's, they are light. There's very little weight to them, but this thing is like boom, 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 like really loud. And if you didn't know what it was, you'd be like, I mean, actually the first time I was like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
And I went outside and watched and waited. And I was like, son of a bitch, that's a squirrel. Wow. What do you think, Dave?
I think you're both right, but I also think there's a folklore part of it. I mean, you go back to ancient times. There's stories about mythical creatures and beasts, and imagination gets carried away. You get told these stories as little kids, you start to believe in these things, and then it bleeds into things like you're saying, maybe, something, some identified sound at night or something you misperceived, and there you go. You have a
Right.
cryptid and a mythical creature. I believe, and then you'd have to check this, but I thought the term cryptid was, well, I guess relatively recent. That'll tell you how old I'm getting. I think it was in the early 80s where the actual term was uh somebody
at
came up with the term in the 80s.
both of us
And it was
Googling.
81, 82, maybe 83, I don't know.
The term cryptid was coined in 1983 by cryptozoologist J.E. Wall to replace sensational terms like monster.
Yeah.
Like monster.
So that part of it is still relatively new, the term
Right.
itself.
Right.
And then you have the cryptozoologists who now are self-proclaimed experts in mythical creatures.
Right.
So I think it's a combination of different things. And this day and age, I don't think the TV shows help any, even
No.
movies.
Right.
I mean, I don't know how many times somebody will watch a movie and, you meet them at a paranormal conference. It's like, oh yeah, that movie, let's say, I don't know, whatever, Insidious or Conjuring House, or did you see that? And what do you think of that activity? How many times have you seen stuff like that? I'm like, never. I'm like, it's
Ever.
just movies and perceptions and stories and being kids and strange sounds. And then, parents might tell you things to spook you. Exactly.
Right.
Keep you in the house, keep you not wandering off and down by the river at night. So it's a combination of different things, but I think a lot of it probably goes back to folklore and mythical creatures that were talked about in stories way, way back.
I agree. And I mean, I also think in some cases that there is a component of deliberate hoaxing, deliberate sensationalism that happens, where someone will take a legend or a story and add on to it, like give it a special power, like Bigfoot is interdimensional, like just out of nowhere. And now that's part of our pop culture, or, our paranormal pop culture, is that I can't tell you like how many times I've heard that, yeah, you can't find Bigfoot because he opens up a portal and he goes into another dimension. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, no.
Not to use a tragedy for anything other than just to this point. I don't know how long ago, maybe a year or two, maybe 3 years ago, they looked for a missing woman that was they thought would have been dropped off in a Utah or maybe somewhere around there park. And during the search, they ended up finding like 6 other bodies that were missing for a long time. Even here, we've in our gorge, in our national park, people find remains just by hiking. And my question is, at some point, they would find a Bigfoot skeleton. At some point, a dog would be out and bring back a 4-foot femur. I don't know. But at some point, something would show up. And that's when the interdimensional was thrown back at me. And they come and they get them and they bury their own, or they take them back to whatever time zone they're in. I don't know.
Interdimensional time zone.
Interdimensional. Right. All right. Let's see. Crease has another one. I grew up in New Mexico, and there are farmers that are adamant they've seen the chupacabra. These are not people that make things up. What do you think they are experiencing?
Dogs with mange, wild animals with deformities, wild animals that have been attacked and left with deformities, I think. I typically have one of my favorite things that I use in a lot of my profile pictures is a bear with no hair. And it's just it's a bald bear, and it's freaking terrifying to look at. And if a bald bear would stand up on its back legs, which they do, and they do walk on their back legs, it is terrifying. I'm not saying, I certainly don't think that they are making it up necessarily or not seeing something. I just think if there might be other things that they're seeing than they think a mythical creature.
Right. And I mean, you said it, and I'm going to bring it up here. So there's a bear with mange.
Poof.
And I mean, it's bad. I mean, when you look at stuff like that, it's pretty bad. And yeah, if that stood up and you're in the woods, I would go the way that you mentioned earlier. I'd pee my pants. I mean, like, oh my God, what am I looking at? What am I looking at? What am I looking at? So I would definitely think stuff like that. I mean, this poor thing, just out there. And I mean, we also have, let's see, like dogs. I think dogs are probably the most common that we see.
Just on cue.
Probably not going to see too much of that.
They're all worked up tonight.
Yeah. Let me, I'll try and find a better one. But you're right. Like, and Ben Radford, my editor, he literally wrote the book on Chupacabra. I mean, he spent years researching everything, tracking down the original story, and went there. And I think it was in Puerto Rico. He went there and talked to the woman that the first eyewitness, basically, and tracked it all the way from there. So what are these farmers seeing? I think they are seeing like a dog or some other animal with mange, or they have some imagination filtering in with what they actually saw. Until we actually have a body that we can test and say, all right, this is an unknown species. But that hasn't happened, because when we do catch ones that are claimed to be chupacabras, they are wild dogs, they are raccoons, or something else. So it's always an identifiable species. All right. Let's see. Michael Burkeen, what's up, buddy? Do you think something like a non-pressure sensitive motion activated could be used to sense the paranormal? My theory is if I can make it go off, a ghost should. Yeah, Dave, I'll let you take this one first.
Speaking of the one brain that we have, we'll let him take this one first.
Yeah, I don't know. The brain might not be working tonight. Non-pressure sensitive motion activation. So like passive infrared motion detector, or maybe a quality ultrasound motion detector, such as Kenny's been playing around with.
This piece of shit.
Do you think something like a non-pressure could be used?
I'm not sure.
I don't know if it could be used. I don't know. I mean, people do report passive infrared motion sensors going off on their own. I've played around with ultrasound motion detectors, data loggers, where there's been some strange readings, but could you say it's sensing the paranormal? No, I can't say that, because when it went off, there was nothing there. There's times where I've seen them go off where you're sitting there staring down the hallway. You don't see anything. And then nobody has an experience, and it doesn't correlate with any other type of data. At least that's what my experience with them. So I honestly, I don't know, because what would have to happen even with passive infrared and ultrasound is there got to be some mass to it for it to detect it, for the most part. That is, if you have one that works properly. Right, Kenny? Anyway, you got to have something that has some mass to it, and it's got to get the infrared, or it's got to get the ultrasound. It's got to return a signal to it.
Right.
So there'd have to be something solid there. So to me, you should be able to have multiple forms of detection if it is picking up something that's really there. The other things are, it's just not working right, or a lot of people use them in the dark. You might not see, and I know some of the motion detectors, you can it'll filter out small animals under a certain weight or something, but anytime, the other thing you need to look at is anytime you're shooting infrared sensor, ultrasound down a hallway that's super long, or there's metal there, or there's reflective surfaces. There's all kinds of things that could cause false hits on it.
Yeah.
So I mean, you can play around with it. I mean, it's actually a fairly cheap thing to go and get and play around with, but non-pressure sensitive.
Yeah, he corrected. He did say light. I think he meant to say a light sensitive motion. So I'm guessing
like either passive infrared or even a light sensor. I mean, I've data logged light intensity for a long time at
Right.
supposedly haunted locations and never seen anything show up on an actual data logger. Again, the best thing would be to get it, data log it, and see if it correlates with anything else.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I mean, your passive infrared, you still need to. It needs to look at temperature on a surface. So if the air conditioner's on, that's not going to make it go off if it's blowing cold air in the way, because it's looking at the surfaces. And it has to change. It has to change, and there's some degree to which it will trigger. So it has to change like 2 degrees or 5 degrees or something. There's some spec that you have to look up and see what the change is, what the trigger is. And same with stuff like this. I mean, the ultrasonic ones are shit. But besides that, it has its limitations, because something you alluded to, Dave, was that if I point this down a hallway and I have it, instead of pointing directly down at a flat wall, and I have it like this, it's not going to read. It's not going to read until you're right up on it, because that's the way it's designed. And you also have to test the specs too, because the specs that you get with some of these like motion sensors, the passive infrared or even the ultrasonic or any of these, they usually are like maximum optimum conditions, which means if they tell you it can detect things from 25 feet away, I doubt it's going to. I seriously doubt, because every one that I've tested has been less than that. It's always come in less. And that's because of environmental conditions, lighting conditions, depending on what you're doing, temperature outside and all that. So always test that to make sure.
Yeah. And there's a whole list of different types of motion sensors. You got passive infrared, you got ultrasonic. I think there's some microwave ones. There's tomographic sensors. There's video motion sensors. There's all kinds of different motion sensors. So it depends. It also depends specifically which one we're talking about. Anyway,
okay. All right. Let's moving on here. Let me get that out of the way. I'm not used to doing the producer's seat.
Oh yeah,
that's Donna. She sits over there and does it for me. Macy Rose, what's up? I've been watching videos on missing 411 in national parks. What do you think is going on? It's just amazing how many people disappear, and the police, rescue teams, and sniffer dogs can't find them.
When we were at the Bigfoot Festival in Pennsylvania, when I met you, that was a long time ago. They had a speaker
in a galaxy far, far away.
Far away. They had a speaker. One of the authors, I don't know if it's missing 411 was the author, but they had an author speak from one of the books. It's pretty interesting. I went down a little bit of a rabbit hole, and there are people that go missing. That's not a made up thing, and there are people that go missing with very little to no evidence. What happens? I don't know. I don't know, but it is curious.
It's curious. I will say that we have to understand the amount of space we're talking about when we're talking about these national parks. They're big. Most of them are huge, and when hikers go out and they get lost or get turned around or an accident happens, it depends on how fast a rescue is organized. Because if somebody falls down inside of a cliff, gets hurt, gets knocked out, or just they're incapacitated, it might be a day or two. And if their body is still there, now you're attracting animals. And you know, I don't want to get into graphic detail here, but there's going to be stuff that's missing, and the bodies are going to go away. I mean, there should be leftover items, but again, the vastness of these parks and not knowing where someone actually is, that's an issue. I haven't read the 411 books. I started to. I remember a guy I was doing a podcast with years ago. I don't know if he actually read them or not, but we talked to the author, and I had a problem. I had a lot of problems. We interviewed the author, and I had questions, and instead of answering the questions, he avoided them. And it was pissing me off so much that we ended the show early, because I was just like, this is a waste of time. Like, you're dancing around the questions and you're not actually answering them. So I don't put much stock in those.
I guess how many, what do they, I mean, by how many though?
I was getting ready to go there.
You can do a quick search and, you know, if this is accurate or not, but World Population Review, according to the National Missing and Unidentified Person NamUs database funded by the U.S. Department of Justice, more than 600,000 people go missing every year. Approximately 4,400 unidentified bodies are recovered each year. Nationwide, there are roughly 6.5 missing persons for every 100,000 people. So you'd almost have to put that into consideration of how many people went missing in all these national parks,
right,
compared to the overall number. I mean, it's a obviously a TV show, so you might want to do a little fact checking on the numbers they're giving you too, because I remember there was some movie one time and they said, you know, tens of thousands of people go missing every year in Alaska, and there's, you know, the same areas they go missing, there's UFO activity. Well,
yeah.
Okay. So I mean, there could be something to it. Yeah. When you're in a national park and somebody goes missing, if you fall down like if you're walking a mountain ridge or something, and, you know, you fall off the side of the mountain, the trail down the mountain, and nobody knows you're even out there.
Yeah.
You could be gone a long time. And like you guys were saying, there's wild animals that probably going to come and have dinner, and they may or may not find you. It is interesting though. I mean, probably need to look into it a little bit more. I mean, it's also probably a great place for sickos to hang out.
Yeah.
Big wildlife areas.
I was going about where you were going. Like, I wondered how many people go missing in the parks and are recovered, and how many people go missing and are not. And one of the things when I watched it used to be a television. It used to be like a little show. I think I picked it up because it was just interesting to me, meeting the author of one of the books, and I bought one while we were there. But a lot of the questions and a lot of the scenarios they're predicated on, you know, if this was a mountain lion, we would have found genes, we'd have found a shoe, we'd have found blood. If this was a bear attack or a coyote attack, we would have found something. And I think sometimes that's not always true. The only thing I can relate that to is, you know, here again in our national park, like I live close to the New River Gorge Bridge, and probably 20, 28, 30 years ago now, we had a person that they found their vehicle parked at the bridge, and they were just missing. And of course, they did search and rescue. They did rescue dogs. They looked underneath. Unfortunately, our bridge is kind of a place where people come and decide to take their fate in their own hands. So search dogs, rescue dogs. Every year we have Bridge Day, which means about a month before Bridge Day, the bridge is inspected. It's made sure it's safe. They run for bombs. They clean underneath the bridge. They take up a lot of the brush. Every year, and this was 20 some years, until finally one of the crews found the body. It was there the whole time. So for 20 years, and not just a passive search, but an intensive search. Plus, every year was a cleaning crew that was down there. They were inspecting the bridge. They were inspecting the bridge to make sure it could take the weight, take the whatever the pressures. They wanted underneath the bridge to look good, so they cleaned the brush. They missed him for 20 years, and they were right there.
So I did a quick search. How many people have disappeared from America's national parks?
Ooh.
Estimated that 1,600 people are currently missing. Divide that by 600,000 times 100. 0.26% of the missing people are supposedly missing in national parks. Is that a high number or not? Probably more people go missing in the city of Chicago every year.
And missing doesn't necessarily mean something horrible happened.
Dead. They could have just
don't want to be found.
Right. They could have. And I think if I'm not mistaken, I think the missing 401 kind of alludes to like a Bigfoot kind of scenario for some things. Like I think there's an overtone. I'm not sure, but I think that's what I got that impression that there's some kind of Bigfoot overtone, like Bigfoot's in that area and these people go missing. But again, also like there's another thing. How many of these people or their remains have been found since the first books were published? That's something also to consider. I had another point, but I totally forgot what it was. Totally forgot.
Not enough for Rob.
Well, actually, no, I do remember. I wrote it down. That's why. I should really look at my notes. What you were saying, Tim, I mean, I watch, there's a YouTube channel called Adventures with Purpose. And I watch that a lot, and it's like a water rescue. And it's this crew that travels around the country and they take up cold cases, missing people that they think are for some reason have gone into a lake or a river or a stream or something like that. And they dive and they use their sonar, and it's fascinating. But like some of these people have been missing for years. And when they search and they go back and they look, they find a vehicle that's like 3 feet underwater, like 3 feet under the surface of the water in a little river. And it's on the side of a main highway. So people were passing by this missing person, their body for years, just within feet, and I see this a lot. There's a lot of things like that. And I think what you're kind of, what your description or your explanation was alluding to is like, you can hide in plain sight without even meaning to. The body can hide. If someone falls into a river and gets dragged downstream, they might get locked into a boulder or something underneath, and they can't get out. They drown, their body falls down, they stay locked in that position. You're not going to find them unless you just happen to swim by, which would be a scary freaking thing. But there's so much that can happen. All right, moving on. We got a lot of questions. That was great. I love this. All right, Cat Mac, what's your favorite Halloween memory?
By the way, I was enjoying her bear story or bear song that she was making in the comments. It was really good. Bald bear that had no hair.
Hey, Donna's here. All right, so what do you think? What's your favorite Halloween memory?
Oh man,
that's you think this would be an easy one, but it's not.
I don't know.
I mean, my memories are mostly because this is my wife's birthday, so it's like
that's right.
It's nice to celebrate her birthday, and we also get to dress up. And when I used to dress up in big costume, not like that. Stop looking at me like that, Tim. Like a weird look.
Whatever you two do,
Halloween costumes.
Yep.
What a great excuse.
This took a turn. So I don't know anything.
Probably I don't know. Years ago, when we lived in Wisconsin, you go south into Illinois, and Rockford had a outdoor haunted house type situation. It's more like haunted field, haunted house, and it was at an old camp. I don't know if it was a Boy Scout camp or whatever, but they had individual cabins set up with different scary scenes, and you would walk through the cornfield, the forest, out in the middle of frickin' nowhere. And that was probably one of my favorite memories, is going to that place. And we've always looked for something similar to it. Never could find it, but that's probably one of the more recent ones. And as a kid, just trick or treating was just always a blast. Going out with your friends, get out after, if it was during the week, you'd still go out on Halloween after school when it was dark out. None of this screwing around with, oh, we got to trick or treat when the sun's still up crap. But yeah, I remember that, and just, having a great time dressing up, going out, running around the neighborhood and acting like a bunch of crazy monsters for a couple hours.
Cool.
I'll say, I was a kid, so just take that as it is. But we didn't live too far from an old cemetery with a very many acres of an old cemetery, and so it was pretty customary. Like we would go through there, but on Halloween we'd like to play like flashlight tag in the middle of the night, those kind of scary games. That was a lot of fun. I mean, we didn't do anything destructive, and in retrospect shouldn't have been there, but as a kid it was more spooky on Halloween to go in the middle of the night and play some type of midnight tag, and those were fun.
I remember doing that too, coming home. Like when I was younger, that happened. I lived in a big neighborhood, and we would need a trash bag in order to get all the candy home, which was good. And then unfortunately, I think my parents threw most of it out because they had all those razor blade scares, and
oh boy, yeah, I remember that.
Just like, you're not going to eat all this. You don't need it. I'm like, oh.
That's why you eat most of it as you're walking around.
Yeah, you shove it in. Like, I'm going to eat all the sugar.
Most of my teeth have fillings in them these days.
All right, let's see. Julie R. I'm a skeptical believer, but my new paranormal partner wants to get an SLS camera. How can I tell him it's junk nicely?
Just be blunt.
Watch one of Kenny's videos.
There you go.
I mean, honestly, he does a good job explaining. But when I see this in conversation, I send people over to Kenny's video. It's a well done, I think.
Thank you. Yeah, I think just be blunt and show them the videos. There's 2 videos up. There's 2 videos and an article on skepticalinquirer.org. If you look it up and you can find them and read them, it gives you all the information about the original one. And then the first video is about that one, showing you how it can screw up. And then the second one is actually really good because it uses the second version and also demonstrates how people put like independent stick figures that seem to interact with people. And I'm not talking the crazy stick figures that are on like furniture, and they kind of like they kind of shake and do the quick movements like that. I'm talking like what is that? Most Haunted? Is it Most Haunted? There's a YouTube channel, where the guy, there's one guy and he claims his house is haunted, and he constantly uses this piece of crap camera, and he has stick figures walk up and like high five him and stuff like that. And I mean, I figured out how he did it, and I was able to recreate it and even interact with objects in my environment. So it was really cool. But that would be my best advice, because all the work's there, and it's just a matter of sit down, look at this, and I mean, if he's still not convinced, you can reach out. I'll talk to him, and we can have a chat, because I would hate to see you spend the money on that. It just does not work.
There's actually an app you can use on a iPhone, and it does pretty much the same thing, because it's got this more or less the same sensor in it. I don't know. Give it a play with that first. It's a lot cheaper option. It's called, what the hell was it called? SLS SLS by Ghost Tube.
Oh yeah, Ghost Tube.
Literally does the same
with that.
thing. Yeah, here I think. Let's see if I can get a picture of Tim being a
Shoot.
ghost. Go ahead, keep going, Tim. See,
Ooh.
it's locking on. It's giving little blurbs. It's just not holding the pic. Yeah. Anyway,
Can we hold still?
I don't know if anybody can see it, but it's.
Oh, it'll do you
can
there.
see-
It's
you
on.
can
Oh
see
yeah.
It does it
There's
only.
something behind you. Whoa.
Pick up the doll.
Something-
Your voodoo doll.
That's not a doll. That's a
Yeah.
ghost in there. Come on, Kenny.
See,
You
it
see
stands
it on
on
the
right
app.
up.
It's picking up a bunch. Oh, that's awesome.
It does pretty much the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's, I don't know, even if you have to pay for it, but even if you do, it's probably a couple bucks. I'd play around with that a little bit first before you decide to spend the money on a
Right.
full
Yeah.
system.
But there's a lot of information there, and I mean that's the best way to go. So good question though. Good question. I like that. Hopefully we can help you save some money. Miss Spooky's Parrot Enthusiast. Is it possible that oh my god.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
not even drinking.
Thank
Paradoxical.
you. It's
Yeah,
just not me.
that word cannot spell that. Paradoxically plays paradoxically.
There it is.
Okay. Plays a lot into what people think they see, with being given descriptions of things and having vivid imaginations. Paradoxically? I don't think that's the word for it. Like, you mean priming?
I
Are
was
they
going to
talking
say prime.
pareidolia, maybe?
Maybe.
Pareidolia.
Pareidolia?
Oh, it might be. Yeah. It might be pareidolia. Plays a lot into what people think they see. It might. I mean, you have given descriptions. So I think there's two things going on here. Because if you are a prime to go into a location, if you've heard the stories, if people told you it's haunted, if it's advertised that way, you see it on social media advertised, and you're going to an event and it's highly advertised as haunted, you are primed to go in there, especially if you have an established belief already. You're primed and you have the stories, you know what you're expected to see or experience or hear, whatever. So there's that. And I think for me, understanding that and recognizing that before you go in is your best practice. But when you get in there, if you are given into this priming, then as you're looking around, especially if it's dark, if there's sounds and they're vague sounds or mishmash, like people playing with broken radios, those ghost box things, you can hear almost whatever you want. In dark situations, when you're walking through and you're expecting to see something, yeah, you might misinterpret. And that's the pareidolia, is where you're seeing something and you're not sure what you're looking at, but you recognize it as a shape that you are familiar with. And faces are probably the most common, because we look at a yellow dot with 2 black dots and a black line, and we see a face, and it's not a face, but we see a face. So think about that. Like, we see that kind of design everywhere. So it is possible that pareidolia and priming, they will play together. What do you guys got?
I think the priming, every time, like, I kind of think about these type of questions when we see them, or when we did a show about, like, how would we do a haunted house? Like, how would we do it? And I love the idea of priming. Like, I jumped all over that. And for me, having, before you go in, like, sign a very major waiver to prepare. And then I wanted to hire an ambulance and a couple, not in there, not right next to it, just kind of just off to the side, just where you'd see it, and have them sit out there and prime it. And I'd always kind of wondered, like, if you would give half the people that would go in, like what they call them, I guess, like a vomit bag, and talk and just be like, hey, there's a lot of people that get in there, they get really dizzy, they get really sick, and then just and don't tell the other half of the people that story. I would like to know, like, how many people would report feeling dizziness and feeling illness and versus not.
Yeah.
But yeah, the priming, I think priming is a major go-getter for it.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. It's all that belief, experience, your fear, and how you tolerate ambiguous situations. Those are all things that have been proven and shown to play a role in experiences.
Good point about how you handle the ambiguity. Yep.
Yeah. Cool.
Nice.
We're doing good. Look at this. We're 45 minutes in, 46 minutes in, and we still got a bunch of questions. Kit Ford, if originally the first chupacabra was in Puerto Rico, how would it even get to the Southwest? Plus, wasn't the description of it completely different? You guys want to?
I don't know a whole lot. Let me Google the first.
So how would it even get to the site?
So I think. Go ahead. Go ahead, Dave.
I was gonna say if the chupacabra actually existed, there are numerous tons of experiences of mammals, insects, birds, anything being introduced to a new area or a new country. And there's a lot of ways that can happen. So the fact that it could get to the Southwest, absolutely. I mean, if there was something, who knows? I mean, could have hitched a ride on a ship. Who knows? Somebody could have thought it was a dog with mange and brought it with, and it got off the ship. Or it could just be two completely different things. Or it could be a dog with mange in Puerto Rico, a dog with mange in the Southwest, and people are misinterpreting it as the same thing. And you see the news story that, there's chupacabras in Puerto Rico. They look like this. Oh, yeah, I think I saw something like that. So, I mean, there are numerous instances of animals, though, of different species being introduced into new geographies and across the ocean constantly. So it's very, very possible. But that's usually happening in areas where you would pick it up and transport it inadvertently, even when there's high population levels of those type of things. So is it possible? Absolutely. But that would be assuming chupacabras are real and there's a whole lot of them to be transported accidentally somewhere.
Right. I do know that from the original story, it stemmed from the movie Species. Like that's the inspiration, and the first description of it matches the final alien form in that movie. It's like a perfect match. So from there, it changed to, because it was actually like a creature that walked on its hind legs and had like spikes coming out from its head down its back.
Mm-hmm.
So it was very alien-like. And then that gradually turned into more of the dog with mange, like a hairless animal on all fours with canines sticking out. And I think that's part of it, where the lips start. Well, no, I'm sorry. I thought it was part of the mange, but it's actually part of the decomposition process. Because when they find the dead bodies, the lips and the mouth start pulling away and makes the teeth more prominent. So the canines look bigger. Yeah. So there's that. But I think when it jumps to a different place, it's not necessarily the animal jumping, it's the story. It's the legend that jumps. And once you start hearing these legends about this hairless creature, then you start seeing them in Texas and other places. And it's not a confirmation. It is usually the media or someone that already read the story and already thinks like, oh, I think I got the chupacabra. And that goes viral. That story goes viral because that's the headline that you see. It's usually like, oh, we caught a creature. It could be a chupacabra. News at 11. You know, it makes you tune in at 11 to see like, what the hell is this creature? I was trying to find the book, but we have it on display because were you with me, Tim? I think Daniel was with me. We stayed at the Mothman, and I got a chupacabra print, which it's
okay.
the raccoon print. Um,
Yeah.
but it's out there, and I have Ben's book out there. But that, if you're interested, Kit, I suggest picking up Tracking the Chupacabra by Benjamin Radford, and it is a solid book. It's solid research from beginning to end. And he spent several years on this, tracking down, visiting, talking to the witnesses, and gathering photos that they took. And actually, like, I think the first one that was allegedly captured, he's got photos of various parts because apparently they dismembered it. I don't know why, but and they ID the actual animal, and it's not some alien species or anything like that. So, but there you go. Good question. Good
All right,
question.
real fast. Because I don't have no idea how this came up, but so these are animals that were considered mythical creatures before they were verified. I don't know where they got their ID card.
They got their membership to the Cryptid Club.
So until 1910, the Komodo dragon, so I'm getting drunk, was considered laughable when people would say, when come back from trips, talking about seeing that. The platypus, you could imagine, until 1798, they were like, bullshit, no mammals lay eggs. The okapi, known as the forest draft, didn't know that they existed, although the reports, and this was strange, the gorilla was considered to be a mythical creature by people visiting that continent, and would come back and would describe monster-like people. The giant squid, which is terrifying, and one of the reasons I do not go into the ocean.
Kraken.
The first images were taken in 2004 in Japan. Let's see, I cannot pronounce this word. Bondegeezou. Bondegeezou.
Sounds good to me.
It wasn't until the 1980s Australian scientists took the first picture, and the kangaroo were thought to be cryptids. So there you go. I don't know. It's just a different way to look at it, but it was interesting to see them.
That's pretty cool. All right. I was trying. The next question is cut off. So I don't know what the rest of it is. It says, I hear ghost hunters say that because we don't know what ghosts are made of, we blank. And I'm trying to see if there was
Are you scrolling back up?
Yeah, that's what I'm doing, trying to find it to see where here. Oh, wait, there it is. Wait, is that it? No, that's not it. Was that the Native American? That was a different question. Oh, okay, here it is. I hear the ghost hunters say that because we don't know what ghosts are made of, we can legitimately use a range of gadgets to try to detect them. What is your response to this?
Well, if you don't know what they're made of and you use a wide range of gadgets to detect them, how do you know what you're detecting when you detect something?
I don't think ghost hunters read any of the historical accounts or any of the literature out there, because
you were going to say instructions.
Well, that could be too. They might not read the instructions, but for example, like you go way back 1800s, earlier literature, reports of ghosts accompanied by feelings of cold or chills or goosebumps. Okay. So you have somebody that reported something, so maybe makes sense to measure temperature, humidity, barometric pressure, things that could affect that, electric fields, magnetic fields. There's a couple things why you'd want to use a piece of equipment. One, based on what people have reported and what you're going to try to detect if there's something physical in the environment causing that, not necessarily a ghost. Or two, you already know there's certain environmental conditions that can cause people to misinterpret those things in the environment as a ghostly experience. So I think if you say we don't know what ghosts are, and that gives some a legitimate reason to use anything and anything and everything under the sun, you are just casting a broad net without having any idea where you're fishing or what you're fishing for. I just, you really should try to base it on something, somebody reported or some environmental condition you think might lead to somebody having these experiences. Because no, we do not know what ghosts are. And I get that, but to me, is if you want to pick some piece of equipment and say, I'm going to use this to try to detect ghosts, that's fine. Just give me a logical, thought out reason as to why you want to do that.
Right. I think I did this yesterday. Yeah, yesterday was Tuesday. I did a TikTok live and this came up. And I said the exact same thing. Like, if you're going to use a piece of equipment, have a reason. Because otherwise, I can use my toaster as a ghost hunting device. I can push the lever and say, all right, if there's any ghosts here, pop that button up. Like that's what we're talking about here. You can't just use anything. You have to have a reason. Why are you using that? And we don't. We've never had a ghost. It feels weird, in captivity. So we don't know the qualities of a ghost. Therefore, we don't know what we're measuring for. But I think what you were getting on is that we're based on previous stories and eyewitness testimony, whatever. We're seeing environmental changes. So people want to measure that. And unfortunately, for the most part, people aren't. Like, they're putting gadgets out and they're waiting for a light to come on or a beep, and that's it. They move on. There's very few people that do it like Dave was suggesting, and you put data loggers on it and you keep that fucking data. Now I'm getting pissed off. You keep that data so you can compare it to later or earlier investigations and have a broad look at what's going on. But that's not what we see here. We see people trying anything from, let's use a radio that scans through the frequencies, shit that we grew up with. We grew up with radios that went through the stations because we were the changer. We changed the channels and moved that dial. So we grew up with that. Nobody complained about ghosts or weird voices. This is something that's out there. And before they even try to prove that is viable, they go ahead and do this stupid Estes bullshit and add another person in there. I know I'm getting off topic here, but have a reason. If you're going to measure something, if you're going to use a device to measure the environment or action, some kind of action or something, have a reason for it and have an intelligent reason. Like, do your research beforehand. Understand why you're going to use this and why you want to use this and how you're going to use it. And then also go further and understand how you're going to interpret the fucking data. Like, how you're going to collect that? How long are you going to collect it? What are you going to do with it? What does it mean? Understand this stuff. But no, we don't. We have people that buy pieces of shit like this and put it out. And when it plays music, they're like, yay, we got ghosts.
I would go another step, and I would add to that, develop a method for your testing as well. Or, I like the idea of the reason, but also, like, if you're going to go to an alleged haunted place, take the same piece of equipment and go to a place that has no allegations of haunting and try it there. If you're looking for it and you find something in an alleged haunted place, give it to somebody else, and don't tell the place is supposed to be haunted or anything. Just let them go. Let's see what they got, and then replicate it, and then try it again at a place that doesn't have any allegations of haunting. And then call Dave and ask him to do the statistics for you to see if it's worth anything. No, I'll give you a statistic, but statistically, it's not going to be right.
Pull it out his ass.
That's right. That's 32% valuable right there. That's a PL 0.07, sir. But do you know what I mean? Like, I like the idea. I'm certainly not against trying things. We try things all the time. It's fine. I like the idea of having a reason, but then also do something to go against what you're trying to do. I guess something like a null hypothesis. You know what I mean? Like try something that,
Falsifiability.
And anything you try, I would encourage people to, one, understand how it works. Two, run it and try it in a location that's supposedly haunted, then do the same thing in a location that's supposedly not haunted. See what you get. I think you're going to be surprised.
we're working on a piece of equipment right now,
Oh, it's a piece, all right.
It's a piece.
but that's what we did. I think all three of us
Yeah.
have. Dan,
But
I don't
even
know.
No
if Daniel
running
has-
stuff on it because patterns are emerging.
Yep.
Oh, I can't wait. But even when the stuff that we've tried, the experiments that we've done, equipment that we've played with, we've talked about it. It's not just something we just throw out there and one day it's like, all right, I'm just going to put this out there and see what happens. No, it's usually after days or weeks of us going back and forth and talking about it and bringing up ideas and flaws and asking questions and looking up specs and re-looking up specs, trying to figure out how to do this, what's the best way, and we plan it out. So there is a reason why it's being used, and we have a plan in place. So it's not random. It's not just let's see what happens. And we also think about this thing that I never see ghost hunters use: controls. We think about how to control it. I know it's like a huge foreign concept there, but we do plan out things, and that's the point. Like that's why we do this. But so with this question, which is a good question, and I get it. My basic response is no. You cannot legitimately use a range of gadgets just because you don't know what something is. You got to have a reason. So that's my piece. Out.
That got a lot of follow-up questions.
Oh, boy.
I'm marking them for you.
All right. I know our question. We're over an hour. You guys okay with staying for a little bit?
Let's
Sure.
do it.
All right, cool. Puerto Rican wasn't the original lady, and reports in Puerto Rico chupacabra found to may have been influenced by the moved species. Yes, exactly. That's exactly what happened. And that's one of the conclusions of the book. But yeah, that's what we found, or not what we found. That's what Ben found in the investigation. So really, really good book. I definitely highly recommend it. Kit Ford. Do you think that it's probable that many legends of dragons and other large monsters originated from people finding dinosaur bones and other fossils?
I could see that. I could see somebody that's never seen a giraffe come across a giraffe skeleton and go, "What the fuck? What the hell is this?" Heck, coming across a giraffe carcass that's partially gone. Could you imagine never seeing a whale and you walk out to the beach and there's the carcass or the bones of a whale on the side of that's a sea monster. That's immediately a sea monster or something.
Well, if you see a whale on the beach like that, obviously you use dynamite and blow it up because that's the easiest way to clean it up
Ugh,
that I've heard and
that's
seen.
what I heard. I don't
That's a
want to do
classic video. If no one knows what I'm talking about, look it up. Exploding whale. Oh, it's so awesome. So awesome. But yeah, I guess people finding them that don't know what they're looking at. I guess I'm kind of thinking that maybe like dragons. That's a legend. I really want to look in the origin of that, see how far that goes back, because I think that goes back really ancient times. And one of the first like big folkloric kind of mythological creatures, because you have them intertwined with gods and stuff like that. So, in the underworld and all that. So that goes back pretty far. That's a good question. That's making me think. I'm going to have to write that down and look that up. All right, let's move on. Miss Spookies. Is it possible that Darwin's theory of men evolving from apes could have been from finding caveman skeletons? Because back then they didn't have soft beds, etc., to sleep on, so their bones deformed.
No, I'm pretty sure most people studying bone structure and different species, and they know the difference between deformed bones and changes in the bone structure that signify different species.
Yeah. I mean,
They
Darwin's
didn't.
theory.
They didn't
ahead.
evolve from apes. Apes and us evolved from something similar.
I mean, based
Yeah.
on the way my arthritis is progressing, I'm probably going to be determined to be of alien origin when they find my
Mhm.
bones.
So
Yeah.
us and apes aren't linear. We're cousins.
Right. You
Yeah.
have to look at the whole picture. Yeah, because we evolved with apes alongside each other, and you have to go back further to see where everything where it branches off. I mean, it's huge. It's not just a little diagram. I mean, I think the what is it? The diagram is just huge. It looks like a tree root system when you look at the giant wheel.
I'm Googling it.
It's just amazing how much is on there.
Yeah, I'd have to break out the very old evolutionary biology textbook from way back in the day, but there was a lot of discussion on. I mean, there's sometimes such minute differences that it's a different species just based on one small little difference.
Right.
Obviously, today things are done a little differently with DNA analysis and the ability to extract DNA out of incredibly old, even fossilized bones in some areas.
Right. I'm trying to. Oh my.
I can't say the names. KENYAPITHECUS. Or GRIPHOPITCHTHECUS. Those are the names of what we both might have evolved from. I've drank too much to even try it.
That's for another time.
Oh God, yeah.
But no, I understand your question. But yeah, I think it's much more involved. And the people that do study bones are it's much more in depth than that, and it wouldn't be a problem. Darwin's theory, wasn't it the finch? I think that it started with the evolution, the differences, the evolutionary differences between that, and then it rose from there. So it's a much more complicated and very long theory. So it's not something we can get into here. Maybe do a show on it. I don't know.
Damn it, Bob's here.
Damn it, Bob. But all right, there you go. Let's move on because I want to shotgun some of these questions.
Let's do it.
Don't be too late. Michael Burkeen. I was at the Native American mound that I found and using the LED motion or LED motion activated light. Oh, LED motion activated light that doesn't go off unless I wave from a very close distance. Touch it. Should that happen? Huh? Oh, I guess you had it in front there. LED motion activated light that doesn't go off unless I wave from a very close distance. I guess he was on a Native American mound, and maybe the light went off. We'd have to look at the light. We'd have to look and see what it does and what it actually does. Temperature differences can have an effect on that. That's just off the top of my head. I know that temperature differences can have an impact on it. But other than that, I don't know. I'd have to see the light. Start there.
Yeah.
All right. Boom. Let's see. Chris Williams. Kenny, have you watched The Scariest Places yet with David Purdy? He uses a lot of equipment, but he's also new in the ghost hunting. I have not watched it yet. I'm writing it down again. I think I was. Did you bring that up? Was I supposed to watch that? I think I was supposed to watch it. The Scariest Places.
This sounds interesting.
The
scariest places. One of them is my basement.
Places up on Earth. Let's see. No, I don't want that. Stop it, Google. Places. Let's see. David Purdy. I think I was supposed to watch this. I think she actually. Oh, I'm way behind on the comments too. Sorry, guys. Scariest Places. David Purdy. I think I had this up. And I was going to watch it, but I didn't. Or maybe I started watching a clip and I got annoyed. maybe that might be something that happened, because that sounds like me. that does sound like me. But I wrote it down in my notes, so I'm gonna watch it. I'll try and watch something of it before Friday, and maybe I'll get back to you on that. All right. Anybody else? No, you guys didn't see it, did you? No.
Nope.
Nope.
All right.
I'm going to watch it though. It sounds good.
All right. Kree Storm. Scientists use equipment all the time that's in testing and come up with new methods for use of creating and discovering why it is so wrong that paranormal investigators do. Wait, what? Scientists use equipment all the time that's in testing and come up with new methods for use of creating and discovering. Why is it so wrong that paranormal investigators do the same or try those?
Because the scientist most likely who is using that equipment has a reason to use it and has a logical thought process for using that equipment. They're trying to detect something. They're trying to measure something. They're not just grabbing equipment off the shelf to see if they can find something.
I'm going
It's
to
dictated
imagine
by the hypothesis and what they're trying to test and the data they're collecting.
Dave's on a roll. Let him go. Let him
I
go.
know.
I'm good.
I shut up right now. I was like, whoop, he's on it. I can see the grit in his teeth.
No, it's just I mean,
Right.
read any scientific research paper. They spell out the background. They tell you why they're doing the type of experiments they're doing. They're telling you what they're looking for based on a hypothesis, and then they pick and develop methods and use equipment to collect the data they need to support that or not support it. It's like, saying, I don't know what causes a virus, so I'm going to try some binoculars, a telescope, a microscope, a sniff test, I don't know, a light detector. I mean, no, they look at it and they say, I'm looking for a specific thing, and they find equipment to collect the data they need to support it or refute it.
Right.
It's way different.
Yeah, I think it goes back to the generalized question, though, of using equipment is fine if you're using it in the proper context. Data loggers, data collection, and not just kind of a shotgun method. So I don't think we're against equipment. It's just how and the plan and the method and the procedures of what equipment you're going to use and why you're using it and what you're trying to measure.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, you guys nailed it. It's the reasoning. Like, why are you using it? And I think you said it to, like, or one of you said it, taking something off the shelf and just see what happens. It's rolling the dice to see what comes up. You got to have a reason. And even when, like for me, when I do an experiment or set something up, and I grab a piece of equipment that I know works for what I'm doing, like a video camera or a light sensor or something like that I'm using to film something, to make a special effect. Sometimes it doesn't work exactly how I need it to. And by trying with what I know and why I have a reason to try this, when it works out and says, okay, it doesn't work out perfectly, I need something else, then I can modify equipment to what I need it to. I know what I need. I know how to get there. So I will modify the equipment accordingly. And it does the specific function that now I know I need it to do. So I think that's the difference. In the paranormal community, you have a lot of off-the-shelf equipment. Basically, it's all off-the-shelf equipment that is usually repurposed for ghost hunting because it follows the general rule of lights up, makes noise. Kind of thing. But when it's modified or modified and calibrated specifically for ghost hunting bullshit, all that they're doing is giving it a new body. That's usually what happens, because when you look at all the equipment in ghost hunting, you have EMF detectors, you have static detectors, which are just static electricity, makes it go off, temperature. Now you have ultrasonic. But a lot of these are just the same things over and over and over again. You have different versions of EMF detectors, which, again, there's nothing to say. We don't have solid proof that ghosts have anything to do with EMF. We have some weird things that might be out there, but it's not determined to be a ghost. But yet you have things like lights that go off. You have a string of lights. You have a bell. Somebody sent me that, the dead bell kind of thing. It just rings a bell because it detects EMF. It's just the same shit over and over again. It still doesn't work, but it's just repackaged so they can sell it for $200. I can't believe it's $200. It's a fucking bell. All right. Good question. Let's.
Good question. It was a good question.
Yeah, it was a good question. All right. Miss Spookies. If the Xbox gadgets are debunkable, does that ring true also for the phone SLS apps?
Yes.
If not, what makes them different? Dave?
I think the sensors, if I'm not wrong, the sensors are pretty much the same. It's probably more limited on your iPhone than it is on the actual SLS hardware, because that's what that hardware is designed for, is tracking human motion. Yes, it rings true. They're both debunkable. I don't think they're picking up anything. I can hold this and it's picking up the little voodoo dolls on the wall and making a stick figure out of them.
Yeah.
It's picking up random. It's meant to pick up and grab onto and lock on. Kenny knows more about this than I do, but it's meant to lock onto the human form. And when there's no human there, it's going to find something as it searches and try to lock onto something similar. And there you go.
Right.
Fill in the blanks.
It's the main thing with the SLS is that, it was trained to look for human forms. And for the most part, that means a body, like your torso, a head, 2 arms, 2 legs. But it also, because it's a gaming console, it has to account for when a player goes sideways.
Yep.
So if you turn sideways, now all of a sudden you're missing an arm and a leg. So it has to compensate for that. And it makes predictions based on the training that it's had. So when you're using the SLS camera, or even the apps that are based on the same or similar design, it's making guesses. So it's going to look out and look for a human-like form, and that can take the shape of like a backpack, a chair, a column, in a room. It could be an archway between a room. It could be any piece of furniture, the end of a couch, anything like that, because it's making guesses depending on what it sees and the depth. Like the SLS camera uses depth sensing. The iPhone, I think, if it's equipped with LiDAR, it uses
is LiDAR. It's a LiDAR sensor.
So it's using LiDAR, but I think it also uses the camera to enhance it. So that's why you can pick up like a photograph of someone and it'll put a stick figure on it.
Yep.
Like my phone does that when I use GhostTube.
Yep.
All the pictures that I have, it'll pick up posters and stuff like that. It's not a person, it's just a flat surface, but it picks it up.
I think that not 100%, but I think the app, you could turn the camera part off and just go with the LiDAR.
And also one of the main things with the SLS camera is that you're not supposed to walk around with it. I mean, that's the basic rule from Microsoft. It's supposed to be stationary and look for people walking into the scene, so that the only things that are moving would be people. But when you're walking around and it's handheld, everything is moving to the camera.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's relative to the camera.
That's it. To the camera, everything is moving. So all the furniture, all the architecture designs and whatever, everything is moving. So therefore, everything is a potential person.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a really good example of ghost hunters using equipment or misusing equipment from the beginning. So
I'll say just an easy follow-up. Dave comes up. He often gives us recommendations with actual apps that are pretty good, are nice. I think, at least if you're going to do something,
what they're supposed to. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. So the two I like are SensorPlay. I have an iPhone, and Redvox. So Redvox is a infrasound.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see if I can do it. I have to give it permission. Anyway, just what?
Yes, you may.
Too much light. Anyway, that's not going to work. But it'll give you a live reading of the infrasound as it goes. And SensorPlay, it uses everything that's in your phone.
They're actually quite
Gyroscope
good
location.
sensors in your phone. They're really quite good. You just need to know the limitations. I know some people were using the what one did you? I think the Sensor Play, is that the one?
Yeah,
They were
that's the one I got.
Yeah, some people were using the magnetic field one and claiming it's EMF. It is not EMF. It's magnetic field.
Mm-hmm.
Big difference.
Yes.
And at least, like you said, at least you're collecting data, and probably the things that you're wanting to be measured are actually being measured within a certain degree of certainty, I'm sure. But at least, like you said, it's doing what it's supposed to do.
Right. All right. Moving on. Michael, I have an idea for a gadget that works similar to a Simon, but can sense texture changes, but I have no idea where to go to get it done or if it could be made.
Yeah.
Do you?
Some sort of electrical engineer.
Texture changes.
Yeah, I'm almost thinking.
You mean like
I'm thinking of something, but I also have a problem with something like the lamps that he mentioned earlier, like the touch lamps. But I think there would be problems with that, just because I would think temperature differences, static, any static charges. I don't know. That's something to look into, but I don't know where you would get that made. And almost like a touch screen.
You might want to send some feelers out to like an engineering student in a graduate program. They'd probably at least be able to direct you in the right place.
Yeah. Or might be interested in doing it themselves because it's a side project,
And show them how much they charge for this stuff online, and then you both will be making some money.
All right.
Texture analyzer is a texture measurement system.
Well, Tim's on to something.
Oh, yeah, I don't think this is what we thought it was.
Okay.
But this is going to sound really strange, and I hope that you've thought of it. And I think this for everybody. There's Coursera has free classes, and if you're really interested in, think about taking some classes yourself and learn to develop an actual
quantum physics one.
Yeah, fuck that. That was hard. That was hard. But nonetheless, it was hard for me. Doesn't mean it's not going to be hard for somebody else. The motivation to learn is a great reason to learn. And I just wanted to learn it because I thought it would be interesting to have. But some people, Michael sounds like he's just ready to be an engineer if he's not one already. I
think there'd probably be if they don't already have them, there's probably some really nice real world practical applications for a texture sensor.
That'd be cool.
I'm not sure I want to go there.
All right, moving on. Soda Ricken, what's up? Kenny, what would you actually do for a Klondike bar? Stay in 1 week lockdown with Lee from Most Haunted. No, absolutely not. I wouldn't. It wouldn't last a week. I would end up smacking the shit out of him. I couldn't do it. All right, moving on. Good question. Wait. Oh yeah, there it is. Okay. Kenny, Tim, and Dave. What mystery, story, theory, etc. is holding your attention at the moment?
You guys already know what mine is because it pissed me off today.
Go ahead, Tim. You always got something that's got you down a rabbit hole.
Yeah. Well, I can't think of the name of it again. Shit. I gotta look it back up. I can't think of it. It's the thing that's supposed to control the weather.
Oh,
HAARP. Yeah.
HAARP.
I am a lot of things I'm seeing are just flooded with that right now about controlling, and so it just makes me just want to. That sounds like a conspiracy thing, and so it is. That's something that came across. Actually, I was on their website, their actual website, and it's so prevalent. Their website has a notification about a solar flare coming, and it says the sun, not what is it again? HAARP. Yeah, not us, is going to be affecting your cell signals coming. It's almost like a joke to them now.
They're having fun with it.
Couldn't possibly be that monster solar flare that just fired off this morning.
Yeah.
I don't know. Dave, what about you?
I'd say just recent things. Reading a book on terminal lucidity and paradoxal lucidity.
Hmm.
End of life dreams and visions. There's a medical doctor that's been doing some data collection on that. Pretty interesting. And then there was a new survey done a couple years ago now, but there's a book out on it, and then a couple research papers and some talks that are starting to come out on after death communications. Basically, people who, you remember the old like Phantasms of the Living, some of the original surveys the Society of Psychical Research did. This is kind of on par with that. So they're taking a look at it again. So a newer group of people, recent researchers. So been reading that book and the papers that are coming out associated with it.
Cool. I got so much. I don't currently have a mystery story or theory that's holding my attention. I'm finishing up a write-up of an investigation I did on the Bel Air house in Ohio. I went out there a while back. I finally got around to writing it up, and I'm almost done. I was just waiting for a response from someone, a contact. I have a video that from the Grafton Monster Festival that I went to with Daniel Reed. I was waiting for his article to come out about it, and it did, and then I got distracted, but I'm almost done that. So it's just us kind of meeting up, him talking about the story, and then we investigate a little bit, but then the rest of it is like going around the festival and some talks, and it ends with a lightsaber battle, which is just new for my kind of videos.
Never a bad thing.
Yeah. And then we have PsyCon coming up in 2 weeks, so it's been busy around here. Everyone's getting ready and getting all the preparations that need to be done for that. And I've been actually doing more TikTok videos, like filming. Yeah.
I wasn't going to do it, but yeah.
I've spent at least 15 minutes on that.
Yeah, 15 minutes. That was a waste. So prepared. Anyway, so yeah, there's been so much going on. I'm trying to wrap things up because PsyCon is a week away from work, and that means I want to wrap up everything before I go. So there you go. Let's see what else we got. We got Cree Storm. Why do you guys think that investigators are always claiming proof of something when something happens? Sometimes they are just saying it's interesting and just want to look into it more.
Nothing wrong with saying it's interesting. They want to look into it more. That's perfectly legitimate. And I think we'd be better off if more people did that instead of always claiming proof of something when something happens. I think they're doing that because, one, don't have an understanding, of what the equipment's doing or what it's detecting. Two, don't have an understanding of background of all the work that's occurred in the field before. And three, they're parroting what they see on TV shows.
Mm-hmm.
So those are my top three as to why they might be doing that.
What do you guys think? I don't know if this means if this is why do we think this is always happening, or
that's how I read it.
I think
why do we think these things are proof?
So I think the majority do claim that it's proof of something. I think they really are. They're putting it out. At least what I watch when I watch the television shows, or I watch the YouTube channels that put out a lot of videos, they make bold claims with nothing to show for it. So it does get annoying after a while. But we try to look into it one by one. If someone says it's interesting and they just want to look into it more, so be it. I'm all for that, and I'll help. An excellent example of this is Dawson Toller. Dawson does his YouTube channel. He's more of a ghost hunter. He goes out and he has made some claims in the past, but he's also very curious. So when we talk and he brings something up, he's genuinely curious about what the devices do. The reason I have this device is because of him. Because he brought one to the Bel Air house and let me look at it quickly. He took it back because he was afraid I was going to take it apart, which I
You
was.
will. You will.
I totally
He
was.
wasn't wrong.
He's
But
not
yeah.
wrong.
But I mean, we talked about it, and we've had conversations about it since then. And I encourage that. Like, if you're curious, if you think something's interesting, let's look into it more. But unfortunately, I think the majority of what we experience, what we engage with, are people that make bold claims.
I think a big one, and I just remember, I think the reason they're claiming proof of something when something happens is because they already believe it exists and they're looking for something to confirm their belief.
Yes,
Yeah.
that happens a lot. Yeah,
So,
and I think that's the difference. Like, we may be hopeful. I think all three of us hope something like that exists.
I want it to exist. How cool would that be?
It would be, because that
Yeah.
would relieve a lot of stress about the end of life kind of thing. You know,
Mhm.
like, okay, I don't know what's there still, but there is something there, so it's a little less scary.
You know, when you're dead, if there's nothing, you're not going to know, man. You're
Yeah,
dead.
you're not going to know. But
Easy
I like
peasy,
the
man.
idea, a quote or an idea that I heard, that I was dead for billions of years before I was alive, and it never bothered me. So when I die, it will not bother me again.
Yep.
all right.
Hi, Ted Dawson, gentlemen. Is he like the younger guy? I think I saw you two kind of really not go at it, but you had a really good younger gentleman.
Yeah.
I like him, and
Yeah.
why I like him is like he'll plant his heels and he'll go, but he also listens,
Yes.
and
And
he
we've had a lot.
discusses.
We've
And
had
you two
conversations.
look like you two look like you're good friends afterwards.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
you
I mean,
you can't beat that. You can't beat that. Like, you could tell, like, you can see the thirst of knowledge. Like, he needs to, like, he's working, getting over the hump of like what he wants to be and learning what can be. And you
Yeah.
can see it. And he's a interesting and exciting person to watch in the field as he's going. Cause I think he's going in the right direction.
I agree. I mean, he's a good kid, and we've had
Mhm.
a lot of conversations off air. Like, and when we do get on, I mean, we do talk, and it does get like, it seems like it gets heated, but it's really not.
Mhm.
Like, we're not angrily fighting.
No.
But it's that, and I feel so weird. I feel so old saying this, but it's like, I'm trying to get through to the young kid who's stuck on this belief, and I'm going, just listen. Just listen.
Settle down, Grandpa.
I'm not telling you what to think. I'm trying to show you how to think about this, because there's other information you're not considering. And it's definitely like a grandpa yelling at a grandkid kind of thing. He's a
Yep.
good kid. I really like him, and we have a
funny.
good time when we do hang out. So, and I'm
Yeah.
hoping, like, I've invited him to come up here. So once he gets a place where he's going to film up in this area, he's going to crash at my place, and he might live after that. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how bad the argument. No, it'll be fun. It'll be a lot of fun.
I enjoyed watching you two talk. That was really good.
All right. Let's see. Paranormal Monkey Podcast. What is the biggest mistake assumption that ghost hunters make?
Ugh.
Ooh.
I have a knee-jerk reaction, but I don't know if it's the biggest. That the place they're going to look for ghosts is haunted, that they're there, and they're, whatever they get is a message from the ghost and not possibly something else, or spirit or demon or alien. I liked kind of how Dave was saying, you seek to confirm instead of seek to find what is. And I think probably the biggest mistake, I know it's probably my biggest mistake. I ran in the middle of the night. I ran through an old cemetery chasing an orb. It was a bug, but literally with night vision, remember the infrared and the Sony 8s? And,
Yeah.
there's me,
I still have them.
20-some-year-old me busting through brushes going, come on, guys, it's getting away. The ghost is going away. It wasn't a ghost. It was a freaking bug.
Oh, man. I don't. Jeez, what's the biggest mistake assumption that ghost hunters make?
I think
Yeah,
Tim's was a pretty good one.
I
think-
think I'm. This might sound bad, but knowing what they're doing, like going in with sometimes overconfidence of I know what I'm doing,
Mm.
and 5 minutes in, they're making basic mistakes in methodology, interpretation, handling, use of the gadgets that they have. And this comes from like learning from TV. You know, you learn your hobby from a TV show instead of like a science book or an investigative book that teaches you the skills of investigation. You know,
Yeah.
like going in and
That's a good
saying,
one.
"Oh, I know what I use an EMF meter and I know exactly how it works," and then you go and see them walk into a room, and 30 seconds later they come out and they're like, "All right, I have base readings of that room," and they know
Mhm.
exactly how. And then like they didn't turn it at all. And you ask them single axis or tri-axis, and they're like, "What?" Like simple things like that. It tells you right away, like they don't know what they're doing. They're mimicking what they saw on TV or on like a
Mhm.
ghost hunting YouTube channel or something like that. And that, I think that's a big mistake, not
Yeah.
learning how to use the equipment or interpret it or the methodology needed to pick up clues and collect data and all of that. I mean, there's so much that I can't even cover it all. All
I
right,
think
next.
assuming that everything is due to a ghost, that's the one that drives me nuts the most. And I think the biggest mistake they now make is going into private homes when they don't know what they're doing and scaring the crap out of people.
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
That's a real good. Dave wins.
I may or may not have, until I talked to my attorney, have gone into a house and scared people by doing that very same thing.
Wow. All right, let's see. Oh, we got a couple more.
That
I'm
was a
trying
good
to
one.
get to the last one. I'm trying to get it. All right, no more
Okay,
questions.
rapid fire round.
All
Rapid
right.
fire for real.
So
for
let's
real.
see. Do you guys take into consideration psychological aspects to how the human body reacts to things like fear, sensory deprivation? Someone gets excited doesn't always mean they think it's evidence.
I do. I love that shit. That's
Yeah.
my favorite.
Yes. Yes.
Absolutely
More
we
people
do.
need to do it.
Mhm.
And I mean, there's been plenty of times I've consulted Tim on, hey, what
Mhm.
what do you think of this? And
Mhm.
I also have a plethora of people in my my resources. So free plug, Skeptical Inquirer. But I mean, all the fellows that are listed on this page, many of them have this area of expertise that I can reach out to them and say, what do you think of this? Here's the case, give me, what's the feedback? So we do take into consideration these things. But I will, the last statement, someone gets excited doesn't always mean they think it's evidence. Agree that it doesn't, that some people don't always think that, but I disagree because so many do. So many get excited and they blame it on a ghost. Someone has that fear, that sense of fear for no apparent reason, and they blame a ghost or a demon. So I've seen both, where someone just gets excited, doesn't know what's going on, and maybe that person that experienced that emotion doesn't say anything like that, but then people around them might come up and say, "Oh, you know what? That's the haunted room. It must be a ghost." So there are scenarios where this happens, but to answer your question, yes, we do take in consideration these aspects because that's important. You have to you have to look at how the body reacts and why. Good question.
Very good question.
Like that. Yeah. Jade Kidden, what's up? Can we lock in movie night plans?
Yeah.
We will work on that.
All right, that is on the agenda. This week. How about by this weekend, the end of this weekend, we decide what movie and when.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. There you go, Jade Kitten. You can hold us to it and yell at us if we don't
Yes.
do
Yes.
it. All right. Last question that I have, I think. Steph, have any of you gentlemen, ooh, fancy, had an experience that you cannot explain that shook you? And if you did you ever go back and to it and try again to explain it? All right. So,
Yes.
Oh,
Yes, I wouldn't say it shook me though, but it left me wondering what exactly it was, and wish it could go back, but don't have access to that property anymore.
Same. Don't have access to the property, but we did for a long time. I had what I thought, or I should say, would be a physical touch in the back of my head that made me, a few little minutes after that, go outside and was sick. And then I went back into the basement and confronted it again. Now, I don't know what that means. It just means that it happened. I kind of want to go back to the first person that talked about the physiology of my experience, because I was a ghost hunter at the time and I was very excited when I had that happen. So I don't know if it was the excitement. I don't know if it was some type of fear. I don't know what it was but I did. I got ill, had to leave the property to go into I wasn't even drinking, and I puked in the driveway. So it was interesting, but that was it.
I can't say I have.
Well, you're not trying hard enough.
Well, you know what? All right. So, like, yeah, when I do have one that I do have a good example. So when I was younger, like I'm talking like, I guess 12, 13 years old, my grandfather had lived with us for a while. So we made the basement into an apartment for him, and he was living down there, and he passed away. And after he passed away, once in a while I would go down and stay in that little apartment area. And at one point I was asleep. I woke up and thought I saw him walking, like the stairs coming down to the basement split the two halves of the basement. So I thought I saw him walking around the stairs to come back to the bed, and it freaked me out. But that's all I remember. So it haunted me for a while, because again, I was young. Plus, I went through my whole ghost hunting phase, and I thought that was a real event. It might have been a real event. I really don't know. But going back, I mean, because my parents still own the house, and being able to look back and see that I was most likely asleep and I dreamed it, because there is no memory of after it happened. Like, I saw what I thought was his silhouette come around the stairs, and that's it. Like, there is no me getting up or screaming or being scared or anything. It's just, that's it. And then I remember the next memory is waking up in the morning. So as I revisit that, I'm pretty sure I was just dreaming. But at the time, it scared me. Not scared. Scared isn't really the word. It was like that nervous sense of wonder. Like, I was like, holy shit, you're supposed to be dead, but I'm seeing you. Am I seeing a ghost? Holy shit. And I was like scared and excited, because it was a supernatural event that I thought I was experiencing, but excited because it was my grandfather. I knew him, there should be no reason to be scared of him. So there's my experience. All right. Moving on. Julie R. What would be a good for ghost hunters to have in their kits? Oh, like a good device or gadget, I guess. Something like that.
A level.
Oh, yeah.
A level. A camera. A good recorder, but not for necessarily for EVP, but just so you can document your notes.
There you go.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Notebook, and if you're going to get anything,
Notebook.
anything that detects EMF or whatever environmental sensors, data logger.
Data logger.
Data logger, yeah. I mean, I for me, I usually take a camera, like a good SLS camera, or SLS, Jesus, SLR camera.
Truth comes out.
Woo!
Damn.
Freudian slip. An SLR camera. I usually take a note. I always have a notebook. Always have a notebook with me. Pen. I have my level, a tape measure. I have like glass tubes. If ever I come across like samples of something, whatever I'm doing, because I do go out on Bigfoot hunts and other hunts like that.
Evidence collection kit.
Yeah, I have all that. Gloves, tubes, swabs. I even have
we tested blood.
yeah, I have luminol.
Mhm.
I have that, and we tested it with the peroxide method.
Mhm.
So I have all that kind of stuff, and it really depends on what I expect. But I
True.
think basic things like that. I don't take, unless I'm going to test them for some specific reason. I do not take any ghost hunting equipment at all. I don't take your EMF meters or your static or REM pod. I don't take any of that. Because I'm sure whoever I'm going to go with is going to have it, and I'll just use theirs. In some cases, I'll take the Faraday box that I have,
Yeah.
because that I know will block out AM, FM, and two-way radios. So
What is it?
I'll take that.
I think I'm going to get them. I think I'm going to get the name wrong, but it's an anemometer that measures.
Anemometer.
Yeah, that measures
anemometer.
wind.
Wind speeds. Yeah.
And it can be
I have one of those.
very gentle. It can be even a slight.
Yeah. I'm going to show you, because I picked this up at a science museum.
So, Dave, how's it been? Now, there he is.
There I am. Wasn't too far. I was actually really surprised to see this, but it's a professional grade
Yeah.
version. So I have that, and I take that with me to measure for drafts and stuff like that. So, but yeah, like that's basic equipment, I guess, for us. Good question, though. I like that.
Good question. It was.
All right, two more, and we're done. Dragon Ranger. I love that name.
I like that name. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did the author of the paranormal workbooks reschedule? And if so, when? So we haven't rescheduled a date yet. So he canceled for tonight. Yes. And because he had to schedule ghost tours. He runs a ghost tour company, and apparently he was really busy. So he had to do that tonight. So,
right.
I will be reaching out. I'll be responding to him because I didn't get to today. But I'll respond to him and see if we can plan for next month. And set that up. So I'll let you know. Ding, ding. And last question. Carl, if ghosts don't exist, do you think humanity will come across the technology to find out the truth of ghosts?
Do you think it was if ghosts do exist?
I hope so. Yeah.
If they don't exist. I'm not sure what technology is going to tell you that.
There was I never really got into it, but it had to do with the CERN, and was it Brian Cox? One of them, Brian Greene, one of the physicists at CERN, had mentioned that if there was a particle or something that would have given rise to ghosts, that they would have found it. It was a very brief statement, but
I remember.
I always found it.
That. Yeah.
I think
I
it
don't
was.
know.
Now I got to Google it.
That's
So
that's
I mean,
stepping
I
out
think-
of his field a little bit and claiming you know everything about everything because you didn't detect something that doesn't exist.
Right.
I kind of laughed actually when I saw that. I'm like, well, I get it. Even scientists want to make the news.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go with the idea that this is if ghosts do exist. Do you think we'll come across? I mean, it's possible. I mean, the things that if we look at 20 years ago or 30 years ago and the jump in technology, the advancement, it's amazing. The accuracy, the narrowing of how we measure things. It's just amazing. And who's to say 20, 30, 40 years from now what it's going to be? I have no idea. And I mean, we're still, I know that right now, like for dark matter, we're seeing just the effects of it. We know that there's something there that we call dark matter because we see the effect of it on everything else. So we're measuring like how we see a black hole. Can't actually see a black hole, but we know the effects it has on the surrounding area. So who's to say? I don't know if ghosts exist, and that's a big if. Will we have the technology? I don't know. Maybe.
Well,
but that would take out the spirituality of it, wouldn't it?
From CERN, BBC, March 24th, 2024. Scientists are going to search for the mysterious ghost particles.
Ooh.
Now, I don't know exactly coming from
Pretty
a
sure they're
news
not
report.
talking about paranormal ghosts, though.
The mysterious ghost particles.
Brian Cox is something. Neil deGrasse is something. I'll ask both of them. I'll be seeing them both in 2 weeks. So
I can't remember. Yeah,
that'll be fun. I'll have my phone out. I'll be like, so Dr. Cox, you got a funny name. Anyway,
don't lead with
Just
that.
so we know, ghost particle is a nickname for neutrinos, I think, if I'm not
neutrinos. Yeah.
mistaken.
Oh,
So you're not
well, that
looking for-
sucks.
Unless ghosts are made of neutrinos.
Ooh. Well, they pass through everything. So
That is true.
That is a
true.
good nickname. A ghost
They're
particle.
massless. They're chargeless. They travel through everything.
Yeah.
So maybe
so,
we've just explained what ghosts are.
There you go. Neutrinos.
It's a massive,
Oh.
massless neutrino.
All right. Now I'm thinking too much.
Oh,
All
it's
right.
Brian Cox. Brian Cox did it.
So that is the last of our questions for tonight. Great show. The longest, probably one of the longest shows we've done.
In a
Almost 2
while.
hours.
Yeah.
In a while.
Yeah.
I've got to pee like a ghost.
Yeah, we went 2 hours without a break. So we've
My
keep these closing
urine is
comments
not-
short.
Yeah, my urine is not a ghost particle. It is telling me it's going and it's going to pass right
right.
through quickly.
So we're gonna wrap this up quick. Dave, anything coming up?
Nothing coming up, but I will answer the last question quickly. Yes, I know who Bruce Grayson is. I am familiar with his International Near-Death Association. I'm also familiar with the work he did at the University of Virginia Division of Perceptual Studies.
Okay.
Otherwise, no. Next month we'll be back here with the three of us.
Okay. And hopefully a guest. We'll see.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Tim, anything
Or
coming
a
up?
movie.
Oh, yeah. We might do that.
No, but we're coming up on all of us meeting in Virginia.
Oh, that's right.
yeah.
January?
That's January. Oh, that's way out. I have like 17 events before that.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm
But
not
we're
even
just-
thinking about that one.
Dave and I are still waiting on our W-2s.
Yeah, they're in the mail.
Security.
All right. For me, I got, let's see, Friday night is the Skeptical Help Bar, 8 p.m. Eastern time. It'll be me, open mic night, and then Donna will be joining me off to the side. We'll see how that goes. And then Saturday, if you're interested, I will be doing, I'm taking part in a live stream on the YouTube channel Paranormal Seekers. It's a charity live stream. They're raising money for all the people that have been hit by Hurricane Helene. So he's raising money for that. And so we're going to be on, it's a 12-hour live stream. So I think I'm on at 6 p.m. And then there's going to be a bunch of other people. And then I think at one point, there's going to be a bunch of us on at the same time. I think like 9 o'clock. So that should be chaotic completely. Besides that, I got, the 18th of October, the Skeptical Help Bar will be on. And I'm going to have my TikTok moderator, Julia, who is a professional video editor. We did a little interview on TikTok a couple weeks ago, and She is a wealth of knowledge about video techniques, editing, special effects. We talked a lot about green screen and green suit use, specifically with the topic of faking videos, like TikTok videos, how people do that, and not just green stuff, but like all the other editing techniques that can be used. So I think that's going to be fun. I'm going to learn a lot. And then lastly, October 24th to 27th, I'll be in Las Vegas, Nevada. If you're in the area, come on out because it's SciCon. I'm going to have so much fun. Oh, I can't wait. 4 days of just science and learning and science. So it's going to be so much fun.
And alcohol and bail money.
Yes. And then October 31st is Donna's birthday.
Yay.
So we'll actually we're not going to have a show that week because we're going to be heading to New Jersey for the Para Unity conference that weekend. So, oh my God. And then I got like 2 things. I got so much to do. Oh shit. All right. So everyone, thank you for hanging out. Appreciate it. And I hope you enjoyed the show. And if you're new to us, please like and subscribe to the channel. If you're on the YouTube channel, like and subscribe to it, and then come back for more. We're here every month. Well, when we try, every first Wednesday of the month, we do a show. So, all right, with that, I'm going to play our ending video, and we're going to get out of here.
Don't mess it up.
I'm going to try not to mess it up.
Don't mess
I know
it
you're
up.
rooting for me.
Have you been drinking?
No,
good.
Rooting for
I
you.
haven't.
Oh, well,
All right.
you definitely will mess it up.
So, shut up.
Thank you.